Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Rama Rama.
Rama Rama.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
We did the first part one way and the second part. Sorry about that. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Bhagavatam Bites, where we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam in the holiest of holy dhams, Matchless Gifts, 26th Avenue, in the presence of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. And today is New Year's Eve. Haribol! We're on the eve of a new year. This will be the last Bhagavatam Bites of 2026. And as we're closing out, that means...
No, 2025.
25. My
Jeepers.
apologies. Thank you. Last one of 2025. And yeah, just thinking that means 5 years we have steadily been reading through the Srimad Bhagavatam, and many of you have been with us on that journey the whole time. So congratulations to you. Thank you very much for encouraging us and inspiring us and enabling us to be in the space of reading the Bhagavatam.
All right. Canto 4, Chapter 28, Text 22.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 22. Although King Puranjan should not have lamented over the fate of his wife and children, he nonetheless did so due to his miserly intelligence. In the meantime, Yavana Raja, whose name was fear itself, immediately drew near to arrest him. Purport. Foolish people do not know that every individual soul is responsible for his own actions and reactions in life. As long as a living entity in the form of a child or boy is innocent, it is the duty of the father and mother to lead him into a proper understanding of the values of life. When a child is grown, it should be left up to him to execute the duties of life properly. The parent, after his death, cannot help his child. A father may leave some estate for his children's immediate help, but he should not be overly absorbed in thoughts of how his family will survive after his death. This is a disease of the conditioned soul. Not only does he commit sinful activities for his own sense gratification, but he accumulates great wealth to leave behind so that his children may also gorgeously arrange for sense gratification. Interesting. Because you'd think that it would be the dutiful thing to do to be making sure those people you leave behind are set up nicely for life, you know? But what I'm hearing here is that Prabhupada is saying, well, if you don't set them up with the understanding of who they are, who is Krishna, why am I here, and you just set them up like, in a way that I guess everyone gets greedy, like, what am I going to get? Am I going to get the house, the car, the money? And that's just going to increase their misery just as you increase yours before you died. It seems like that. And I get that you can leave stuff behind, but you have to leave the real wealth, which is like, listen, dear son or daughter, this is the real wealth in terms of how you will truly be happy, you know? Leave them with that knowledge, I mean. Because we don't say you have to go like live somewhere in rags and live under a tree and all that. You can live your life, but you just need to add Krishna. Let him do the rest, which he will. I also thought it's interesting about leaving behind great wealth, Prabhupada is saying, and because nowadays you see, I think, what's his name? Bill Gates. Mm-hmm. He's made a declaration. He's not going to leave his wealth to his kids. He's going to give it to charity, which I just think, I think it's terrible. But anyway, I mean, all those anyway. And then I think the same with the widow of Apple founder.
Jobs.
She's also
Jobs.
said it, and quite a few people have said it. I think, anyway, it don't matter. But a lot of famous people, very like wealthy, have said that they're not going to do that, and so yeah, it's interesting because that brings up a lot of debate. Some people are like, yeah, whatever, it's their parents' money, and then some people are like, yeah, well, who else are you going to give it to? But it's interesting. In light of just reading this, because that's a lot. Even your average person is thinking, let me leave the £100 that I got in my account to my kids, whatever. I'm just saying, on the other hand, you have this level of so-called renunciation. I'm not leaving it. I'm not leaving anything.
Yeah, very interesting. As we were reading through it, I was thinking, oh, that's very harsh. It's very. Yeah, but then it sounds harsh, but it's actually one of those cold, hard realities that we struggle, theoretically, we meaning, the royal we, struggle so hard in life, and often a responsible parent is thinking, I just want things to be easier for the next generation. So you struggle so much to make basically money to create a situation where your life is easier, and you want to pass that on to your children, to the next generation. But as is being pointed out here, all fine and well, and as you mentioned, it's like it's a duty, it's dutiful, it's responsible, but at the same time, we're leaving out the one most important thing, that I'm spending so much time trying to make life easier for someone, which basically I can't do anyway, and Prabhupada was kind of mentioning, it's not really up to us. We can try our best, even in our own life, we can try our best to make a situation easy. We can aspire for, wealth and comforts, but the material energy will ultimately decide whether you are comfortable or whether you suffer anyway. Yeah, somehow something came up the other day, a few different things that I was saying that are almost horrific. One is that there was a lady who was a model, and I think she was living here in New York, and her landlord owed her money and rent or something, and so she went to meet him to get the money back, and he had two guys basically attack her, slice her face up. She was a model, and just basically more or less leave her for dead, and it's like, and I know it's horrific. And the other thing is something about, like, I don't remember if it was in the 20s or 30s, in factories they used to use this stuff called, I forget, it kind of glows in the dark. I want to say boric acid or something, baradium or something. Anyway, they used to paint it on clocks so that the numbers glowed in the dark and stuff like that. And the way that the people that were working, which were mostly young teenage girls, they would lick the brush, or they would dip it in the thing, lick the brush, dip it in the thing, and then paint. Lick the brush, dip it in the thing. So they were, but they were being told that this is all safe. It's all. Meanwhile, in laboratories where people are dealing with this, whatever it is, boradium or something, if you know, you can stick it in the link below. They wear like suits, metal, like to shield themselves. And then after like some years, these young girls, their teeth started falling out, their bones started deteriorating, they started suffering like anything. And the companies were proclaiming, oh, this is, they're just making it up. So the point being, all these horrific things, and there are unlimitedly more horrific things happening day in and day out in the material world. We think we're going to create a comfortable situation, and we try like anything, and why shouldn't we, and why wouldn't we? But ultimately, the material energy is going to determine. And the other side, as you were mentioning, is we leave all this money. Hypothetically, you become like successful. You create a comfortable situation. You develop wealth and prosperity, and you pass it on to your children. I would say there's a strong, greater than 50%, likely more like 75 to 80% chance that the children are just going to misuse it. They are going to get themselves into trouble with that money, or they're going to cultivate and develop more greed, or worst case scenario, that they just fritter it away in their own sense gratification, and it doesn't create within them an instinct or a drive to actually be committed to something. So yeah, in one sense, what I'm getting here, and I know I'm extrapolating on this a lot, mainly because at first I was really thinking, oh, that's not fair. That's not, of course we want to look after the next generation. But what is the cost? The cost is that we waste our life by not cultivating Krishna consciousness. We don't give Krishna consciousness to the next generation. We help and encourage them in sense gratification instead of Krishna consciousness. And maybe even we create karma for ourselves after we're gone because we gave them so much money that they're going to do all nonsense with. And so it is really. Now, how does that look in a Krishna conscious way that one may still try to provide for the next generation? And I don't think it's like this radical, like you're saying, like Steve Jobs and them who are just giving everything away to some random charity, but that we can't forget the Krishna conscious element is the primary element, like that. I mean, anything?
No.
No. Okay, so I'll read the next paragraph. If you want to read, because I just talk so much, I don't mind. In any case, everyone is afraid of death, and therefore death is called bhaya, or fear. Although King Puranjam was engaged in thinking of his wife and children, death did not wait for him. Death does not wait for any man. It will immediately carry out its duty. Since death must take away the living entity without hesitation, it is the ultimate God realization of the atheists who spoiled their lives thinking of country, society, and relatives to the neglect of God consciousness. Yes. In this verse, the word atad arhanam is very significant, for it means that one should not be overly engaged in welfare activities for one's family members, countrymen, society, and community. So in that sense, Bill Gates and the others, they're just doing the same thing. I was thinking we should write to them and say, look, why don't you give something to the Hare Krishnas so we can actually expand the, spiritual welfare of society. It means that one should not be engaged in families, countrymen, and community. None of these will help a person to advance spiritually. Unfortunately, in present-day society, so-called educated men have no idea what spiritual progress is. Although they have the opportunity in the human form of life to make spiritual progress, they remain misers. They use their lives improperly and simply waste them thinking about the material welfare of their relatives, countrymen, society, and so on. One's actual duty is to learn how to conquer death. Lord Krishna states the process of conquering death in the Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. One who knows the transitional nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. So what is the solution to death as given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita? To become Krishna conscious, to become conscious of Krishna, to cultivate an awareness and an understanding and a relationship with Krishna. Then we go back to the spiritual world and we don't have to take birth here again.
That it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, final paragraph. After giving up this body, one who is fully Krishna conscious does not accept another material body, but returns home back to Godhead. Everyone should try to attain this perfection. Unfortunately, instead of doing so, people are absorbed in thoughts of society, friendship, love and relatives. This Krishna consciousness movement, however, is educating people throughout the world and informing them how to conquer death. Harim vina namritim taranti. One cannot conquer death without taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
There's no reference for that statement. Harim vina namritim taranti. Anyway, carry on. I'll try to find one.
Interesting point. One cannot conquer death without taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because it's interesting, because I was thinking of death today in the morning when I was charting my rounds, getting ready to come to Mangala Arati. Focusing on death. And I was thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I don't think I was taking shelter though. But I was just thinking of how far he seems, you know? But at the same time, death seems closer than Krishna. So it was like a very sobering thought and like, well, what you got to show for it all these years, you know? Because death should be like, Prabhupada often gives the example in his purports, it's just like crossing over a puddle into the next life, as it were, the vast ocean of misery. But if you feel you're drowning in it after all these years of practicing, and Krishna's like becoming distant as opposed to like sitting next to you literally, then you're like, all right, I think we need to recalibrate and refocus, which is not a bad thing. And sometimes you need those little reality jabs to, think, okay, what am I doing? Which is also appropriate because it's like New Year's Eve, so you know it's all that sort of stuff as well. Like, all right, how am I going to spend the next 12 months? Which those of you who are, you know, a bit more mature in age, like myself, they matter as you get older. They become much more precious. But yeah, so it's interesting, as often happens when you're Krishna arranges, you hear a lecture, you read something, you this, you know, everything just, so I was thinking in this sense today in the morning, and it's just another reminder that, so just where you at, what are you going to do, how are you going to live in a way that you're connecting to Krishna.
And did you come up with an answer, or
Yeah,
did
but
you
it's
feel
private.
like you're already doing it?
It's
It's private.
It's my private thoughts.
Oh, okay, just because you were sharing them so openly.
Well, I shared the process.
Yeah, perfect.
It's like if someone says, make a wish before you blow out your birthday cake candles. But if I like make a wish and blow out the candles, and then someone says, what was the wish? I say, it's none of your business, isn't it? Just eat the cake.
Yes, sure you would.
Just eat the cake that I just blew all my germs on.
Yeah. So I tried to find this reference, Harim vina namritam taranti. And Prabhupada quotes it in several different purports, in several different places. But there's never a reference given. So if you know, if you want to look this up and go on a little adventure and feed back to us and let us know where does this statement come from. It might, because sometimes Prabhupada just quotes kind of like Bengali sayings or Chanakya Pandit or like that, but often he'll say where it's come from, but I haven't been able to see where it says. So anyway. All right, so I think we'll finish there. Happy New Year to everyone, and sincerely praying to Srila Prabhupada here in Matchless Gifts that we can aspire to come closer to Krishna and develop our relationship with Krishna, and develop our relationship with Krishna through the words of the Srimad Bhagavatam and chanting of the holy names, and also praying the same for all of you. Hare Krishna. Happy New Year.
Hare Krishna.